Today we're making marbled marshmallows. You better be in focus, camera. So here I have two marshmallows that were made from the same recipe. This is plain marshmallow and this one was marbled with dark chocolate and salted almond butter. These are the ones we'll be making today. If you notice right off the bat, because of the swirls, as the gelatin solidifies, it solidifies around the swirls, so you get these layers of intercalation in between the gelatin matrix, and it's almost like a marshmallow millefeuille, given how many layers it has, and it drastically changes the texture too. Instead of being squishy and chewy, it's soft and almost cloud-like. The texture is unbelievable in these things. You gotta try them to believe it. So let's get to it. So making marshmallows is a pretty easy procedure, and here's what you'll need. You'll need some water, powdered gelatin, some sugar, vanilla, Saigon cinnamon, but you can use any other sort of cinnamon you like, corn syrup or glucose, salt, dark chocolate, I'm using 72%, and some salted almond butter. So this is some stuff that I made myself. I'll put the written ratios right here. But you can also just use the stuff from the store. One thing to note is that at the moment the almond butter is pretty fluid right now, and that's what you'll need. If it's too thick, it's not going to mix too well. First, grease the sides of a 20 by 20 centimeter square pan. You can use a brush to get along the sides, and set that aside for later. Step 2, chop your chocolate. Place 2/3 of it in a microwave safe bowl, and reserve the other third. Next, add the gelatin to a mixer bowl. Add the cold water to the gelatin, give it a quick mix, and let it sit for about at least 5 minutes to fully hydrate. Gently melt the chocolate in the microwave. Once the chocolate is fully melted, add the rest of your reserved chocolate to the melted mixture, and stir that in to melt it. Once the added chocolate has fully melted, your chocolate should be in temper, and you'll just keep that warm so that by the time we're ready to add it, it's still fluid. Next, cook the sugar, water, and corn syrup to 242 Fahrenheit, or about 116, 117 Celsius. Once your mixture looks like this, pull it off the heat and put it to the side. Next, fit your whisk attachment onto your stand mixer or hand mixer. Turn your mixer to low just to break up the bloom gelatin. Next, slowly drizzle in the hot syrup, increasing the speed as you do so. Turn your mixer all the way up to high. Add the vanilla, the cinnamon, and the salt. And we'll let that run until the mixture is cooled significantly. The batter will leave a thick ribbon when you lift the whisk up once it's done. Now we're going to spread that into our prepared pan. Briefly smooth it out. Don't worry too much just yet. Next, add the melted chocolate and the almond butter. Finally, use a greased spatula and just swirl that in there. However you like. You can use scooping motions, you can use swirling motions, just get it nicely distributed so that you get all these nice funky layers. Now just spread that out, make sure it's even. Now that we've swirled all that goodness inside, I'm gonna let it sit at room temperature for at least 8 hours, and once it's done curing, we'll cut it and we'll see what we got. So the marshmallows have now rested for at least 8 hours. I'm going to dust my cutting board with some icing sugar, and then unmold them. Plop. Dust the top with some more icing sugar. And using a greased knife, cut the marshmallows into whatever size you'd like. My knife isn't long enough for this. Make sure between each cut, you're gonna respray your knife. Make sure that the marshmallow doesn't stick to your knife, or you won't get clean cuts. So here's what one of our marbled marshmallows looks like. You've got all the little marshmallow strands that are separated by the intercalations of the almond butter and now a solidified chocolate. You got this fat cap on the bottom here. Reason why I make sure not to swirl all the way into the bottom is because this is something we can torch. Now that the marshmallows are all cut, I'm going to brush some powdered sugar into just the unmarbled sides. If you brush the powdered sugar into the marbled side, it obscures the marbling and that doesn't look as pretty to me, so toss it a couple times to knock off any excess and set it aside. Then repeat with the remainder. Now the best way to consume them is to stick a skewer through the marbled side. So the unmarbled side is facing up here. Brulee that sucker on the top and the sides. That residual heat is going to travel down here and start melting the chocolate just below the unmarbled side. Let it cool slightly to allow the exterior to harden and become a little glassy, kind of creme brulee-like, and enjoy, because this thing is incredible. It tastes like the end of diets.